Disaster update. 151 lives claimed and over 400,000 others displaced in Sri Lanka's worst disaster since over a decade.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines, landslide warnings, red notices issued for 7 high-risk districts. Rescue missions underway. Triforces continue to save victims. Disaster relief. Manusat Derana humanitarian campaign coordinates supplies to worst-hit areas. International aid. Following Sri Lanka's request, funds and relief flows into the country. Emergency teams rushed to distribute aid to 500,000 people displaced after Sri Lanka's worst flooding in more than a decade, as authorities announced the death tolls rise to 151. The Disaster Management Centre said 438,295 people from 112,565 families in 15 districts have been affected by the disaster. 111 people are still missing and 50 are in hospital with injuries after torrential rain and landslides swept away entire villages. Floodwaters were receding in some areas after a break in the rain, giving relief teams a chance to deliver much-needed supplies to the victims. But several warnings have also been issued for the next 48 hours. Well, with heavy rains on Friday triggering the worst flooding and landslides in 14 years, the southern and western parts of the island and many villages were still underwater today as well. Search and rescue missions continued across the island, and Derana took to the air with the Air Force to get a first-hand view of the operations.
The Disaster Management Centre reports that residents of 15 districts in 6 provinces have been affected by severe weather. According to statistics of the Disaster Management Centre, Ratnapura district has been severely affected with 71 deaths and 12 people reported missing. A total of 69,350 people have been displaced in Ratnapura district. Meanwhile, 2 deaths have been reported in the Kegalle district with 2 people missing and 5,366 displaced. In the southern province, Galle reported 9 deaths, 10 missing persons and 114,161 people displaced. 14 deaths were reported in the Mathura district with 17 missing and 85,969 displaced. In the Hambantota district, 5 deaths were reported and 3,827 people were displaced. Meanwhile, 47 deaths were reported in the Kaluthara district with 62 missing and 100,972 displaced. 23,211 people have been displaced in Colombo district. 3 deaths were reported and 34,357 were displaced in the Gampaha district. No deaths have been reported from the central province, however 194 have been reported displaced. No deaths have been reported in Batticaloa and Trincomalee in the eastern province, but 716 have been displaced. 172 people in the northern province have been displaced. A total of 151 deaths and 111 missing persons have been reported. 438,295 persons are reported displaced and are staying at 342 safe centres. Meanwhile, Derana took to the air alongside the Sri Lanka Air Force, which launched further operations to assist affected people today. Officers of the Special Forces Regiment of the Sri Lanka Air Force took part in this mission. For the first time in history in the context of natural disasters, the Air Force airlifted boats and headed towards affected areas. The Air Force deployed the boats in the Bulletin 09.00 area. We had a bird's eye view of a landslide in Bulletin 09.00. The Sri Lanka Air Force distributed food items from the Katukurunda Air Force Base to affected people in various areas. The Air Force also took quick action to transport a woman in labour from a displacement camp in Bulletin to the Katukurunda Air Force Base, from where she was transferred to an ambulance. Returning to the air, we were able to survey the flooded stretch of the Southern Expressway at Dodangoda. This is the aerial view of the flooded regions of Kalutara and Kalawana.
And with the death toll on the rise, the National Building Research Organisation extended landslide warnings, declaring over 7 districts at risk. The NBRO advises the evacuation of people from high-risk areas if the heavy rain persists over the next 24 hours. The districts of Ratnapura, Kegol, Gaul, Matara, Kalutara, Hambantota and Nuwara are identified as high-risk zones.
Issuing a red notice today, the National Building Research Organisation warned of landslides in the Ratnapura, Alapata, Palmadulla, Kuruvita, Ahaliyagoda, Kiriyalla, Imbulpe, Ayagama, Kahavatta, Kalawana, Kolonna and Nivitikala divisions of the Ratnapura district. The warning also applies to Bulatkohupitiya, Daraniyagala, Yatiyantota and Dehiyovita in the Kegol district. The landslide warning is also issued for Baddegama, Yakkalamulla, Nelluwa, Tavalama, Niyagama and Nagoda divisions of the Gaul district. The NBRO warning is also in effect in Kotapola, Pasgoda, Pitabaddara and Mulatiyana divisions in the Matara district. Bulat Sinhala, Agalavatta, Walallavita and Badurliya divisions of the Kalutara district are also at risk of landslides. In the Hambantota district, Walasmulla and Katuwana are at risk. The landslide warning also covers the Ambagamua Korle division of the Nuwara district. Meanwhile, landslides brought on by adverse weather conditions were reported in several areas of the country today. 13 bodies have been found after the earth slip at the Moravaka Hill in Deniaya Matara. Search and rescue operations continue as 15 people remain missing. Displaced people are being housed at Kirti Abevikrama Mahavidyalaya in Moravaka.
We need help. 15 houses have been completely destroyed.
There is a scarcity of water in this area, due to which we are facing hardship. Operations are being carried out in search of those who disappeared after the landslide on Arambadekanda in Ahaliyagoda, Ratnapura. The search and rescue missions encountered difficulties due to high water levels. 6 persons have been reported dead during the mission, among them a mother, son and a relative of the same family. 2 persons of another family were also among the dead. The Divisional Secretariat of the Ahaliyagoda is supplying food and water for them. Meanwhile, operations continue at the landslide in Bogoda Kanda, Ahaliyagoda. A body of a woman was found in the evening yesterday. Operations also continued at Kakunaliya the Hill in Bopatta, Ahaliyagoda, where 1 body was found yesterday. Atweltota Badurliya was also affected by landslides. 2 people died in the landslide in Diganna, Atweltota Badurliya. The displaced are housed at Vidya Bandara Navodaya School, Morapitiya. Meanwhile, the Air Force has launched operations to assist the displaced in Koggala and Bulat Sinhala.
And the latest update is that the rising water levels of the Kalu River have threatened to breach the Panapitia Bund, with residents in several nearby areas urged to prepare for evacuation at short notice.
Vehicular movement along the Southern Expressway have been limited due to inundation of certain sections. The section between Galanigama and Dorangoda has been closed. Officials of the railway department today removed parts of the old railway bridge which had become detached and lodged in the Uravatta bridge in Ambalangoda. With rising levels of water in the Ging River, the areas of Baddegama, Yakkalamulla, Nagoda, Bope, Poddala, Valivitiya Divitura have been inundated. Galle District Secretary S.T. Kodikara has requested residents in low-lying areas to evacuate due to rising water levels. The 30-year-old bund, built for the protection of Baddegama, has reportedly begun to leak in several places. The Triforces, police and irrigation engineers have been striving since last night to temporarily halt the leaks using sandbags, and the mission went underway this morning as well. Navy personnel also took part in evacuating people to safer zones. 113 teams of Sri Lanka Navy personnel, equipped with 113 dinghies, are actively engaged in relief efforts in high-risk areas and have rescued 4,983 people up to now. 44 teams have been deployed in the southern province, and they began the process of clearing debris from the Vakbella bridge in Baddegama from last night. Relief service teams of the Navy distributed water and dry rations to displaced people in Nagoda and Mapalagama with the assistance of other Derana. Mathura District Secretary Pradeep Ratnayake highlighted that although flood levels are receding in the upper reaches of the Nilvala River, levels are rising in urban areas, and thus 14 out of 16 divisions in Mathura have been inundated. The Tudava area in Mathura is also being gradually inundated, and its residents are being evacuated by the Navy. Several roadways in Mathura were also flooded. Meanwhile, a meeting was convened at the Mathura District Secretariat with the participation of Ministers Mangala Samaravira and Vajira Bewardhana.
Every measure has been taken to safeguard the people of Mathura. The Naimala Bund breached yesterday. However, it is a small breach. A team of 200 from the army is already in Mathura with the aim of repairing it by tonight. We've taken measures to mitigate the forecasted impact on Mathura by the heavy rains. The government hopes to assist the affected people with damages once the floods have subsided.
And the Manusad Derana humanitarian initiative worked off a second day of a tireless mission to provide relief to hundreds and thousands stranded and left destitute due to the adverse weather.
Flood relief and assistance poured into the Derana head office today as well, with many lending their helping hands to coordinate and distribute relief packages for thousands of people affected by floods and landslides across Sri Lanka. We dispatched batches of relief supplies for people in areas including Deniyaya, Hakmana, Agalavatta and the hardest hit districts of Kalutara, Mathura and Ratnapura. Students from various schools in the country also contributed to the Manusad Derana humanitarian initiative.
As part of the St. Joseph's College cricket team, we are representing our college. We're here to support. It's a great pleasure being able to support people in need.
We are from the Intra Club of Ananda College. The profits we get from our projects, we donate it.
It's a really good thing that Derana does here, helping the people when they need the most. That's why we partnered with Derana to do this humanitarian work.
Meanwhile, collection points were also set up across the island. The premises of Idea Hell at number 45/6, Alvis Place, Colombo 3 and the Siri Vajragnana Temple, Maharagama as the main collection points, in addition to the Derana head office at number 320, TB Jaya Mavata, Colombo 10. Numerous other collection points were also set up across the island. The accumulated relief goods were then taken to various areas including Baduruliya, Kalutara, Bandaragama, Millenia, Agalawatta, Kiriyalla, Ratnapura and Pitabadda. State officials as well as locals helped in the distribution of the goods.
We do trust that it goes to the people who are really in need. Thank you, Derana.
You all are doing a good job. Hope you will be able to go to those places without any problem.
We want to help out, make sure that we get some rights to the victims.
Thank you very much for the Derana staff. When I see the pathetic situation, I thought of giving whatever possible I have.
As a Sri Lankan, we had to help our nation.
So I think it's a duty of Sri Lankans to help our own people.
We would like to invite you to hand over dry rations such as rice, milk powder, as well as dal, canned fish, soya meat, sugar and water at our head office located at number 320 TB Jayamawatha, Colombo 10 or Idea Hell at number 45.6 Alvis Place, Colombo 3. For more details, you may contact us on 0115 300 700 or 0115 300 800 when we have another contact number on 0115 677 111. With the onset of the disaster, the government called for international aid and the Chinese government today announced emergency humanitarian disaster relief goods worth $2.2 million for landslides and flood victims in Sri Lanka. A chartered flight will bring the relief goods to Colombo soon, with tents, blankets, sheets, rainboats and life jackets being among the items.
Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Li Keqiang have also expressed condolences to President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe over the loss of lives and damages caused by adverse weather in the country. In addition to the Chinese government's humanitarian assistance, the Red Cross Society of China will also grant a cash donation of $100,000 for relief efforts. In a communique, the Chinese embassy in Colombo said the Chinese government will give full support to the disaster relief operations of the Sri Lankan government, adding that Chinese enterprises and overseas Chinese in Sri Lanka will also fully assist the disaster-affected people.
Following the arrival of an Indian naval ship yesterday carrying relief goods, another relief team from India arrived today and were welcomed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Ravi Karnanayake. The second Indian relief ship INS Shardul arrived at the Colombo port this morning carrying additional relief material requested by the Sri Lankan authorities. Navy spokesperson Shaminda Walakuluge said that the third Indian ship INS Jalashwa is scheduled to arrive at the Colombo port tomorrow. And the United Nations has also stepped forward to assist the government in supplying relief for people affected by the ongoing disaster situation. The UN said in a statement that its agencies are currently supporting the government's relief efforts in coordination and also mobilizing resources following a request made on Friday by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
A formal request for support by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was received by the UN Resident Coordinator's Office on Friday, following the onset of the monsoon and the ensuing disaster situation. Accordingly, in addition to ongoing support, the United Nations Children's Fund will donate water containers, water purification tablets and tarpaulin sheets to the Disaster Management Center. In addition, the World Health Organization will be supporting the Ministry of Health to deploy medical teams to the affected districts. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs will provide additional human resources for coordination with government and humanitarian partners. The World Food Programme and the UN Development Programme are supporting the DMC with information management. In addition, search and rescue teams are on standby from neighbouring countries and can be deployed if needed.
The Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development has taken measures to assure uninterrupted fuel supply to the rain and flood-hit areas. Minister Arjuna Ranatunga has instructed officials over the matter at a special meeting at the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited in Colombo today. The meeting was convened by the minister as fuel supply in some flood-affected areas had been disrupted yesterday. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development added that the provision of fuel for the security forces is assured, especially to those engaged in rescue and relief operations. And we move on to your sports stories. The Navy Dreadnoughts took the Western Province Open Sevens, beating CRNFC a 12 points to 10 at Havelock Park yesterday. The Sailors beat the CRNFC B team and Police Sports Club on their way to the final, while runners-up CRNFC beat Air Force and the Navy Seahorse in the quarter-final and semi-final. CRNFC B won the plate final with ease, defeating the Navy Seahorse 22 points to 7, while Air Force Sports Club took the bowl final, beating Police Sports Club 14 to 12, with Gayant Iddamalgoda scoring a last-minute winner for the Airmen. And in cricket, a magnificent Ben Stokes century helped England pick up their second win over South Africa at the Rose Bowl in their three-match ODI series. South Africa, chasing 331, fell just 3 runs short in their 50 overs, giving England the match and the series win.
Won the toss. They will be in the... Having been put into bat, England put on 330 runs, losing 6 wickets in their allocated 50 overs, with Jos Buttler remaining unbeaten on 65 and skipper Eoin Morgan scoring 45 to support Ben Stokes' 79-ball 101. Kagiso Rabada picked up 2 wickets, conceding 50 runs in his 10 overs, while the rest of the bowlers all went at more than a run a ball. In response, Quinton de Kock anchored the Proteas innings, scoring 98 off 103 balls, with support coming in the middle order from David Miller, who scored 71, and an A.B. de Villiers half-century. England, however, restricted the visitors to 328 for 5 in their 50 overs, with Liam Plunkett picking up 3 for 64, while man-of-the-match Ben Stokes picked up 1 for 12 in his 3 overs.
This is it, and what a finish from England, what a comeback.
British Airways resumes some flights from Britain's 2 biggest airports today after a global computer system failure left planes grounded and thousands of passengers queuing for hours. BA said it aimed to operate the majority of flights from Heathrow today, but more than a third of flights have been cancelled and passengers are being advised to check the status of flights before coming to the airport. Yesterday, British Airways CEO Alex Cruz said he believed the cause of the problem to be a power supply issue, rejecting any notion that their airline had been the subject of a cyber attack. And with a continued disaster situation in Sri Lanka due to adverse weather conditions creating landslides and flash floods in the country, we cross over to the Weather Centre for how the weather will be for the next 24 hours.
Thank you, Indivari, and welcome back. Now we can expect showers and thunder showers to spread across several locations in the island as the low pressure system is expected to linger over the southwest region over the next 24 hours. The Department of Meteorology also warns that if the low pressure zone in the Bay of Bengal now continues to develop, it may create a tropical cyclone which is forecast to move northwards towards Bangladesh. As a result, wind speeds will increase up to 80 km per hour, and the impact will be most felt in the central region of the island, especially in the areas of Kegal, Kurunegala and Nuwara. Western, Sabaragamu, southern and central and northwestern provinces is expected to rain and fairly strong winds of up to 50 to 60 km per hour. If we take a look at the surrounding sea areas of the coast of Kasanture to Galle, where Trincomalee, Batika and Hambantota, we can expect strong gusts of wind of up to 60 to 70 km per hour. Now, heavy rainfall of up to 100 millimeters may be experienced in certain areas, while key cities can expect temperatures varying between 28 and 30 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at a city-by-city forecast.
That's all from the Primetime News Desk at 9, and Ada Derana will continue to keep you updated on the latest situation in the country, bringing you warnings and the disaster updates via SMS alerts as well as on our website www.adaderana.lk. But before we go, we'd like you to take you across Sri Lanka, where Triforce's personnel continued their daring missions to assist people in distress as a result of the adverse weather.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Ada Derana 24/7.